We just came home from an amazing trip to Okinawa, Japan, and the internet did exactly what it's supposed to do. It brought us together with Nautical Nomads, aka Katie. Check it out. So we've talked a lot. We want you guys to get the chance to talk to Katie as well. So Katie is a dive instructor here in Okinawa, and Katie, tell us how your diving adventures started out.
Yeah, so I was certified in 2019 in Florida. I have always loved diving, bucket list item. I've always loved the water. So really started there. Didn't dive a ton after I got certified, honestly. It's expensive hobby to pick up, and especially in the States, it can just adds up quickly. And so dove here and there through Florida, dove in Turks and Caicos, and then we moved here to Okinawa almost a year ago, which is crazy. And this is some of the best diving of the world, and I have been diving nonstop since we got on island. So majority of my diving experience actually has been in Okinawa, because it's in our backyard, which is pretty cool.
So your husband's military?
Yeah.
And
Air Force.
Air Force.
I messed that up.
Same. I mean, it's all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
But your occupation wasn't that before you got here?
No. Registered dietitian, have been a registered dietitian in pediatrics, renal, hospital settings, and have just kind of moved, whatever the need is, because we're moving so often, and got to the island, and the need here is very small, and it's a small island, and so it forced me to really kind of reevaluate the things that I'm passionate about and the things that I enjoy doing, and diving has been that for me through and through. The ocean, honestly, in general, has been that through and through for me. So I already knew I was going to dive, so I might as well continue the process and maybe get paid a little to dive too. Mm-hmm. That's not the main reason. I just love diving. So it just was a no-brainer, but it was really scary when we got here because, you go to college, you do the thing, you start your career, and I'm in the middle of my career. I've been a dietitian for 8 years, and so this is where you'd start to really make some of those advancements, and I just don't have that opportunity because we're moving so often. And so to kind of break from that mold here, and it sounds so spoiled and entitled because I cried for months not finding a job here, only to dive. I'm so very fortunate that I can do that and am able to do that here, but it really breaking that mold and kind of that stigma and that drive and career pursuit. I'm very career driven, and so to kind of go from that mindset and then be here and then forced to confront, like, what do you really enjoy out of life? The big questions, like, do I love what I do every day as a dietitian? Yes. Do I love helping people? Do I love the ocean more? Yeah. I still love helping people, and I get to do it in a way that I'm so passionate about, and some of the best diving in the world.
Yeah. You've helped us all week. I mean, as we've said, I think over and over, we could not have done this without you. And, the knowledge and the skills from, what kind of footwear to use to where and how to dive have been immeasurably valuable. And so
those are things I've learned, right? Just being here. Someone had to show me and teach me those things. The only way you can learn is by asking. And you guys asked, right? Yeah. And so being able to ask and start that conversation. I mean, kudos to you guys for messaging back a stranger on the internet. It just happened that we were very similar and similar personalities, and just, some of the parallels that we've had are pretty cool.
So we had been diving, several other places, and Bonaire was one of them where, it was shore diving, but Okinawa is quite different in that we showed up with, rubber booties and found out on the very first dive that it was like, and we were going to die.
There was going to be a scuba face plant.
Some felt bottom booties, and that was something new. And as well, the other islands that we've dove at were protected by another island, another mainland, and Okinawa is not. So there's big waves, and that is a whole learning curve. That if we didn't have Katie and Seth, then it would not have been fun.
Yeah. When you don't know what you don't know in every location, I think that's just a rule of thumb, right? When you're diving somewhere new, making sure you're doing your research, or are with local guides who know this island well and are learning and know the ins and outs of it. Because if you were to just to show up, if I just moved here and just showed up and dive, I would be in a sad situation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And just smart and good travel ethic. And
Well, and I think that points out what we really like about, and what we're trying to accomplish at Friends and Fins as well, is that no matter how much gear you have, or no matter how much money you have to travel, it's the personal connections that are going to make things worthwhile, right? That's going to give you the things, that and remaining teachable, right? We want to remain teachable because we know we don't know, and going in knowing that you don't know is what allows you to learn new things.
yeah.
That's a gift that goes beyond kind of like money or anything else, because that's your time. And I think that's an enormously valuable thing. It's a touching personal connection, which is what we want, what we love about diving, and the fact that we share that is something that I think the diving community needs and will thrive on. So we want the people that like us, and we want the people that we like to meet you, because this is a big community, and you have really given us the experience of what diving we feel it should be. What can you, like, personally, you've been talking about kind of your journey through diving, and I have a similar experience with professional life and feeling like you had to check the boxes. Do you feel that, just tell us more about what diving is to you spiritually, I guess, if you don't mind sharing that.
Yeah, so just being able to connect and use diving as therapy, really. Some people are water bugs, right? They've grown up their whole life as a water bug. I am a water bug, through and through. Are you? Yeah. So I knew diving was going to be a part of my life, or the ocean was going to be a part of my life in some way, because it's just been where peace is, and I have ADHD, and so reining it in, I can't talk underwater, right? I can just do and be present in the moment and in nature. And I think a lot of people who dive also like to be outdoors. That's not always the case, but just being out in nature and observing marine life, or just creation in general, is pretty cool just to witness. Like, makes you feel very small, just realize how big this world really is. Some of the creatures in nudibranch that we're thousands of species, every time you're seeing something new. And so on the spiritual level, like, just being able to be one with the ocean, which sounds like such a cliche, and I hate that I just said that.
No.
But you really are. There's this peace and this quiet and stillness that is hard to find on the surface. And some people can find it through yoga or meditation, through conversations or therapy, which are all beautiful things. But I get underwater, and I know there's the meme circulating. It's like crazy chaos in the kitchen, and then you get under, and it's just like, wow, this is unreal. The fact that I get to breathe underwater every day is like, still blows my mind that I get to do that. And just the humility that you guys have had to reach out and come with open heart to explore and learn, I think is a big part of that journey for diving, and being able to just be open to things is a huge part spiritually that I think diving provides for people in different ways.
Well, we had saw beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, video online on Instagram from Okinawa specifically, and didn't know why wasn't there more people, coming here to travel to dive, and learned that Okinawa had its own set of, diverse conditions, and that to be a diver here, you had to check the tide, you had to check the weather, and just go and look at the dive sites every day. And that never crossed our minds before.
But it,
I'm in here, other than if the marina was closed.
Yeah.
Oh, like in Cozumel, yeah. But it also ties
Yeah.
in well with some stuff that Katie's gotten interested in, and that we're fascinated by above the waterline, about the culture of Japan. And so everything you're describing about, your purpose and your profession and the things that you love and following your passion in life is actually seems like it's more supported in Japanese culture than it is in typical American culture.
Yeah.
Which seems like this is the perfect nexus of the place to be, especially for you. And so tell us more about the parts of Japanese culture, the ideas that kind of feed into that?
Yeah, so Japan is a blue zone, so it has a higher population of centurions and individuals over the age of 100. And so there have been studies, there have been documentaries on Japanese culture and Okinawa specifically. And so moving here, I was really excited to just fully embrace in the culture and what that looks like and what, you know, every aspect, language, food, meaning, purpose, all of that. But one of their big phrases, and I am sorry to any Japanese speaking individual, I'm going to mess it up, but agaki, which is like to have meaning or purpose. And I think I said it wrong, but don't come at me.
We'll fix it. Don't worry.
But really this all-encompassing that everybody's job matters and it's a collective. So I need the janitor to do my job to clean a hotel, and that has so much value and purpose and appreciation, where in the States, if you work at a certain level or a certain job, it might be frowned upon, versus here it's a community and we all need every member of the community to do their part, no matter if it's picking up trash or cleaning up gardens or working at the office. That there's this unified sense of community and purpose, and it's valued. Right? I think everybody wants to feel valued and have purpose in life. And so here it's just naturally more fulfilling because they have that community of people to rely on. This is a small island too, so they really have depended on each other. This island has also endured a lot politically and world, like nationally. So they've really had to come together as a people, which is just, I think, speaks volumes about Okinawans and is pretty beautiful. And just learning the history just makes me appreciate more and more Okinawans outside of Japan as well, because Okinawans were kind of viewed as outsiders to Japan as well. And so this island is just such a beautiful dichotomy that has such beautiful waters, and there's just so much to see and learn from this above and below the surface.
And we felt that while we were here. I mean, and being complete newbies to everything, it's almost like it is a culture shock, but it's the good kind of culture shock, right? It's the peace, it's the quiet streets after 8 p.m. It's the never feeling ill at ease anywhere, and always we had we were kind of fumbling through getting parking the other day, and a lady just came up and they clearly saw us struggling and just helped us, had even exchanged bills with us in the street to get us through our parking thing. And that kind of thing is, it places your whole day into a new light, right? Which is amazing.
Well, we saw children going to school by themselves, and little children, and that hasn't happened in the States in years. Absolutely years. And the fact that most people leave their cars unlocked and they feel safe doing so.
As feral Texas children, we remember pretty much having the run of the town.
But it's not been that way.
Right. And so that, just the trust, the communal trust is huge. And that gives you, it's the kind of vacation you just can't get by just going diving, right? I mean, we love diving, but you can't get that just from diving.
No.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing.
On the mornings along the seawall, there's seniors. They're playing their musical instruments, and then sometimes in the morning or the evening, you can see several of them cleaning up around, and that is just wild for us to see.
Yeah, and I think that's so you've got this insight into Okinawa and the culture of Okinawa, but we share kind of the United States piece of it. And so we've been talking about being dive instructors, finding our way into a dive industry, not, trying to feel it out, we know what value we want to bring, but we don't always know whether that fits into the larger piece of the dive industry.
Yeah. So,
and we've talked about some of the things that we'd like to maybe remedy, like the gatekeeping and some kinds, and we feel like we should have a conversation about that, because it is part of diving, and I think that you have some pretty awesome insight into how that works, and just the spirit you've shown to like show us around and welcome us in has been part of that. So
you've made it easy, just
well,
so you know.
well, but
because there's a willingness to learn too. So I'm happy to show that.
well, and we believe in that, and we want the dive community to reflect that, and we definitely want everyone that we dive with to share that. You're pretty focused on your instructing, and but you're also an excellent dive guide. What kind of place ideally for yourself do you see within the dive industry and the dive community?
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly, and I don't even know if I know how to answer that, honestly, because there's so many things that I'm drawn to within the dive community, as well as the business aspect, as well as the community aspect. I love instructing. I'm partnered with a dive shop here for military members, but I'm also freelance outside of that. So I get a really unique opportunity to kind of do instructing with military members, but also then people from the States or from other countries who want to dive, and then I'm building those relationships with other local Japanese dive shops or just local dive shops. So it's kind of, I feel very, very lucky that I get this unique to kind of blend all of these worlds together in one and dip my toes in whatever aspect I want. But I love instructing, so I do, and I have the opportunity to get a fair amount of clients from the military bases here, because there's constantly people moving and wanting to learn. But being able to teach people from the States, you know, and show them real world conditions on where they're probably going to be going, in conditions that we get every day are changing, and teaching them that aspect of it. But I also love guiding, and a lot of people are taking vacation and don't really want to have to think about it. Maybe they've come and that's like their goal. Yeah, I'm going to get certified on this, and that's awesome, and we would love to show people that. But the guiding is also equally a learning opportunity as well, because now we're kind of giving you a glimpse of, okay, what it actually entails to do some of the diving from the shore. You can also do boat diving here. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of dive sites here that I have not even scratched the surface of. And so getting to do those, it really lends itself to what people really want and need coming in. The diving portion of it for guiding, though, is the easiest, right? Because a lot of people typically are going to have their certification if they're specifically doing a dive trip. So coming out, and if they wanted to maybe advance it, they could. But if they just want to go see some really cool things or have the opportunity to and learn along the way, that's really, I think, what I enjoy doing the most for outsiders coming in. Because you have such limited time here on the island too. Why not capitalize it by getting guided and still learning some of the ins and outs of shore diving and boat diving in Okinawa, while also getting to see all of this amazing stuff so often here.
I think what we're saying is, you know, we're in the same situation, right, where we're trying to piece together. I mean, we're in the same situation in terms of figuring out our place in the dive community and in the dive industry. What we love is finding, you know, treasures like you and Seth, and then taking that and saying, like, look at what these people are doing. Like, this is different. This is a refreshing, like, totally new take on how to do this. That is I've like struggled for the adjectives, but more organic.
It's an authentic trip, but it's authentic travel. It's you're not getting on a big cattle boat and just jumping in with a bunch of people
that are from where you're from.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, we went to the dive site toilet bowl the other day, and you have to go check out the dive site before you ever jump in, and I have some awesome video of that, but it looked like we had stepped onto the Game of Thrones set of Dragonstone, because I would have never in my wildest dreams, you know, come up by myself and thought, I'm going to jump in that today.
But Katie will get you there, because you look at Katie marching down and you're like, okay, we're doing this. Let's go. Yeah. And it is the best dive, because in the sense of accomplishment of doing it, and also, I mean, it's just what you read about in magazines, you know? I mean, it's like, it's a full adventure in that sense.
Some bushwhacking along the way. You didn't think you were going hiking to get to somebody, and it's not a real hike, but
Yeah.
more so than a boat, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I've never had the opportunity until we moved here to get to do that type of diving. So there's a learning curve to that. But
Can
Yeah.
you tell us what goes into checking the, just the conditions and what you have to do?
yeah, so every day and every evening, all day, we're looking at conditions on different apps. And so here I like to use the Windy app or Surfline app or, whatever apps you're using to look at weathers, but we're looking at currents, tides, wind direction, wind speed, swell period, swell speed. We're kind of collecting all of this to build somewhat of a background for the dive sites, and we kind of know a little bit of the nuances with some of those. Toilet bowl can get pretty spicy pretty quickly, and so knowing if it's going to be choppy, it's probably going to get worse, and knowing your entry and exit time and tides, high and low, and some of these are better at low tide, some of them are better at high tide, and so we're piecing all of these together to kind of have an idea of what we would expect. We also have tons of group chats with other wonderful divers on the island and community, and we're sending each other videos, and so a huge part of that is just relying on each other or feedback. Hey, what do you think of these? If someone's not as familiar with a dive site, just being able to bounce off that as a soundboard. Hey, would you do this? Would you go with a student? Would you, and we're able to use our community to really kind of gauge where we're going or when to go.
And even if the apps say that it's bad, if you do a drive-by, it could be wrong.
We're supposed to get some crazy storms and the conditions looked terrible, and we physically went and drove to the dive sites and we're like, oh, this isn't bad at all. Like we could absolutely have a student here, but you don't know that until you're going and looking, which then takes time to drive to dive sites or coordinating with friends and having those conversations. But yeah, there's more back end to it than I didn't even realize until getting here and doing it. But just how much trust some people have on those apps, and they're a great tool, but that's a tool. Right. And just like another tool in our toolbox for kind of figuring this out. But the more you become familiar, that's why having and finding local guides wherever you travel or dive, I think, is so important.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising thing for you guys, like scoping out, like coming here and like your expectations, picking Okinawa, as well as preconceived like expectations, and then the reality of your trip here? Because I think people would probably value that insight.
Well, I'll say the work all the work that you've been describing and your documentation of it made that really easy on our end, right? Because we saw you guys diving regularly together, photos of you together, and we saw we didn't see as much of the background in terms of the work you were doing, mm-hmm. right? And then when we got here, the most shocking thing was like, this is a ton of work. Like Seth has a whole storm chaser rig in the front of his car that's like iPads and screens and like stuff, and he's extra gear. He's like buzzing around the dive sites, and I mean he's like on the phone. I mean I almost feel like he needs like a walkie-talkie just to round out like the set. But he's a busy dude, and mm-hmm. and he is like I want to call you guys like scuba chasers or something, because you're like on top of everything.
Actually, that's a great name.
I mean, and so that was the piece. We already knew that you had the great community. We already knew you loved diving. We already knew you had beautiful dive sites. We already knew that you were friendly, warm people. And I think that's the part of social media that shocked me, is because I'm kind of a social media cynic, right? I don't. Mm-hmm. I would rather have my head under the waves and forget that my phone even exists, right, for most of my life. But now I'm looking at it as a tool that can help me to build better relationships, which, hey, any way you can get it, it's learning. Like I said, teachable. I mean, I'm not going to latch on to anything. If I can be proven wrong, I'm happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
But that was huge. But you guys are, and what's difficult for us is feeling like somewhat guilty, because as we've seen how much work you're doing, it's just jaw-dropping, but the experiences that you have, the diving that you get to do, it's worth the work, mm-hmm. but it's a lot.
So what shocked me was seeing the seawall. They have these massive cement jacks that they have to break the waves and the rocks, and I'm like, I've got to get in that.
Yeah.
And buy me onesie, just
Yeah.
walk down in it. And, you know, at times it, you know, could be pretty spicy, but, you know, because they've dove it so much, they knew kind of, we're going to go in on this area, or we're going to go in at this time, and that's going to be quite helpful. And that was something completely new, you know, for us, both of us.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that, I mean, if there are divers in other part of the world that have experience with that, that's, I think, we can say that from Bonaire, that experience does not necessarily get you here, right? I mean, that's a great experience. Shore diving in Bonaire has its challenges. It's not as easy as boat diving might be, but this, you need to have local experience for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tides are highly changeable. The swell is highly changeable. Your eyes on it are not our eyes on it, right? And so I think our advice to people would be to seek you guys out for that. And also, you've made some great boat diving connections here. I don't want to leave Okinawa Tom's out of this, because you've also built a community of people that can take you boat diving as well.
Yeah.
So you can really offer people not just what they want, but their comfort level.
Yeah, and as a whole, right, we don't have to fight other dive shops. For the ocean is for everyone, and every dive shop has their clientele. It's not hard to find people, and there are some amazing dive shops. You know, I'm not here to say pick me, right? If you want to, great. If you feel like we would jive, even better. But there are so many other wonderful dive shops on the island too that might meet your needs, and Okinawa Tom is one of them. And he's so laid back and so easy to dive with, and can kind of tailor things. So he's just one of the many, and I'm so glad to have built that relationship and continue to build relationships with other dive shops, because there's not just one, right? Everybody's diving experience or diving needs are different, and being able to kind of extend that to everybody is pretty awesome too. For such a small island, there's a lot of love to give out to people in the diving community, and it can be shared. And like I said, I'm not here to, like, if you want to dive with me or with Seth or any one of us, we would love that.
I love the way that you approach that too, because as we've had conversations about the diving community and kind of this a little bit of a zero-sum game in the dive shop world of like my clients, your clients, you know, my divers, your divers, that kind of stuff. You really want to dive with people that are drawn to the way that you dive, and we definitely are. I mean, we're sold 100% forever and always on how you dive and how you do things. But dive with who you feel comfortable, and go where you have the best time. Like, the more avid divers there are out there, the better this is going to be for everyone.
Yeah.
And we don't have to protect territory and stuff. As long as we have more people that are passionate about diving, everybody's going to be okay.
Right. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It's diving is for everyone. Diving, it's a beautiful learning experience, and being able to do that with people who are eager to learn is just awesome. So there's no, bottom line or, budget. And I think that's a lot of the approach here in Okinawa, like we talked about, like having that purpose and meaning. Well, yes, some of these people are relying on this as their job and main source of income, and they have a quota that they might need to meet. It's never appeared in that way, and it's never approached to someone in that way. It's I love doing this. Tom loves doing it. Seth and I love doing this. Our other all love doing it. And if we get to share that, how cool to see that transition and growth in somebody who comes to the island to learn, whether it's brand new or already experienced, and just gaining upon that.
Yeah. This has been like being invited to someone's house for dinner, but diving. That's how this has felt to us. And it's
come over to grandma's house.
Yes.
Right?
and it is made.
Everyone's welcome, food's flowing.
Yes. Yeah. And that experience of that, as opposed to, the usual kind of modes of traveling and diving, it'll change you. It'll change the way you want to do things.
This has been by far less touristy and, less money grabby, just within the restaurants and just the community.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's just
that
so
could
much.
be a whole nother podcast, honestly. Like, just talking about the eating and driving and culture here, like, that could be a whole nother dive in.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to go wrong. I mean, just the short version is there's no way to make a mistake here that I've seen in terms of food or people or places. I mean, ask questions, go eat. It's
Ask locals. I mean, you could show up here and ask somebody, and they would give you, I'm sure, great advice to go. Your biggest priority in traveling is always safety, right? Same with diving. Like, do you feel safe? Are they actually teaching you what you need to know in diving? A lot of places here aren't just throwing you in a boat and dragging you along. Of course, you could find that in places all around the world, or those experiences, but your safety is everyone's main concern here, because everybody's going to enter and exit a dive together, and
Right.
so what your level of comfort is really just a personal choice.
Yeah, and I would, if I had to dream, like, redo all of my diving over again, I would go ahead and say, yeah, I want to get certified to dive. I want private dive lessons. You know, Katie and Seth are going to teach me to dive. I'm going to spend a week doing it. I mean, if I had to, dream a dream about that, that's the way I would do it.
We could go back in time.
Yeah, and so when Seth gets here, we'll get into this some more. But I was a lapsed diver, right? I was certified, and then I didn't dive for many, many years.
How many years was that gap?
God, I'm like embarrassed. It's like
Don't be embarrassed.
it's like 30.
Yeah.
I think by the time you actually get down to it.
Yeah.
And we've covered some of that, right? It's career and school, career,
life, family, like whatever. Yeah, it's so easy to be in that and to lose. And if you're not in a spot that it's accessible, even easier to kind of push it out of the way.
Yeah. And so at some point, like, you come back around to yourself, I guess, in life, and you're like, wait, what is it that I really like personally? What I'm doing all these things because I have to. What do I actually like? Yeah. And then I came back to diving, as the thing that I actually liked, and the people that I actually liked. Yeah. So I think that one of our kind of missions or goals is to reach out to people who are already certified to dive, but just haven't gone diving in a long time. Mm-hmm. And typically I would be kind of like cautious with those kind of people to tell them to kind of take a little trip here and try, and like, but I don't think I'd have any problem telling them to come here, and be like, you need to do a refresher, you need to take it easy, that kind of stuff. But if you really, trips like this, I feel, ignite people's passion to go out and do, and that ties back into, if there are more avid divers, there are more people that love diving, the community is only going to benefit.
When you're providing that opportunity, you guys have vetted the people that you've been talking to and the community that you're beautifully building, which I'm so excited to be a part of, and I've gotten to meet you guys because I think it's this perfect blend of taking the love and the passion and maybe not getting to get as much experience, or having different experiences but not feeling completely satisfied maybe on those trips, or just getting to enjoy different new cultures. Because every location is going to provide a different diving experience. You're never going to have one that's going to be the same, but what makes a good travel trip for you, and the things that you're looking for in that diving, and you're able to blend all of that together and do the back end research and just people don't see like all of the back end and all the conversations we've had back and forth, all of the editing, all of the networking, and just really just trying to build that community. So you're able to take all of that hard work and provide it on a platter that's like, we've done this, we can vet these people, and these because we've done it, come join us. Here's the opportunity to join. You don't have to join if you don't want to. We can give you the tools to go do it yourself, but which is awesome because you're not here to like push something. You're here to just, hey, we want to dive. We found this awesome place to dive. Come along if you want. We've got it mapped out, which I think is huge, because that gap in between, I think people will be more inclined to come and join along that journey, or maybe they're at that realization like, wow, this is what I'm really passionate about in life, or retired and have the time and energy to spend doing those things, and you've already paved the way, which is really, really awesome.
Well, here too, we came to Okinawa in between two typhoons.
Right.
And, the first couple of days we're like,
Is it gonna happen?
Are we gonna be
Yeah.
able to dive or not?
Checking.
But we had Seth on
Yeah.
the scuba chasers. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
we went
was
out
ready.
video of every site.
But even if we can't dive, there's vast number of things to do here other than diving, even though that's what we would prefer to be doing. And other places we haven't found that.
Yeah, I think I was telling you, I didn't feel the pressure here to just log like 5 dives a day, because being out of the water looking around was a treat in and of itself, right? I mean, this is not, in a way, I mean, there are a lot of Americans here in a certain capacity, right? The military is here, but there is so much to see and do culturally that is different and fascinating. So if you are a traveler and a diver, this is everything, right?
Mhm.
This is the total package. And a lot of times when we're traveling, we're really just diving. We're not traveling, right? We're not making a change of cultural perspective.
Yeah.
And so this is the two things that we love together.
Yeah.
And that's where this has knocked it out of the park for us. And we hope, and we're looking for the other people that are looking for that too.
Right.
Right? And I think that, it's so refreshing, because in the States, I feel that a lot of the dive shops promote trips that are very focused on, I know where to go. I know. And we don't know, but we know the people who know.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
And
And
that's
find the person who knows.
I feel like that's the honest information to give people, is like, come to us. We don't know. I still, I could live here for as long as you do, and I would still have a ton to learn about everything you've discussed, like the tides and how all that works and all of the things that go into what Seth does.
Yeah.
But I know the people who know.
Yeah. And we're still learning too, right?
Right.
Like, we're constantly learning. I never want to become stagnant in learning. I think there's still always more value and more to learn in those things from other people, and maybe someone's doing something different here that I haven't seen or heard that might be better. Like, how cool to be able, but you guys are the network, right? You're that liaison and building those connections with us. Again, goes into that background of work and vetting and researching each other and creeping on each other.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, that's exactly what both of us
Yeah.
did. Because we're all doing it, don't lie.
Yeah. This is like the online dating of travel.
Right?
I don't know. You're like trying to figure out, like, are you cool or?
Yeah, are you funny? That post was funny.
You know, spiked right.
Yeah. And your post, and that's why I reached out to you guys, because I thought it was the funniest meme with the free.
Well, that's why, and I think we've agreed that, and you're doing the same thing, right? If you want to find your people, you've got to put yourself out there.
Mhm.
And you got to say, well, this
It's
is what I'm about.
scary to do, and I know you guys are, and doing this is not normal for all three of us, and it feels weird and awkward, but the conversations are not weird and awkward. It's the fact that we know that someone's going to be watching.
Yeah, we're like,
Which is weird. You don't need to see me or hear my voice. I don't
Right.
feel like I'm adding that much value or offering. I know that I am, and you guys
You
are showing that more. And the same for you guys. I know that's something that you're working through. Like, what are we doing? Like, is this really a thing? But it's pretty cool, and like the beginning stages of that make it so authentic too, which is why we've connected, because we don't have these huge platforms, and I'm not here for a huge platform. I'm here to show people that you can dive at Okinawa, and these are opportunities, and I think a location that people are missing, and you're trying to find that in Okinawa, but other spots too, which is an even bigger, we all see the potential for how this could grow into something such beautiful community and really relationship building, outside of money, right? Like, that's not the goal here. We all love diving, and that's why we're here.
Absolutely. And kind of the spirit that has led you to open up to us is the sharing, right? That's what we want to do, is like, this is amazing. It's a different way to do this. If you're an experienced traveling diver, but you're kind of tired of you get a glimpse of it, I feel like, in dive boats, right? When you're on the dive boat and you're really connecting and having a good conversation with somebody, but this is just like that the whole time.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just when you get on and off the boat for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Or while you're on your surface interval for 2 hours
Yeah.
a day. It's like, okay, no, you found friends to go dive with.
Life. Yeah, and we're getting to do that. And on the outside of that, for those people doing the liveaboards, the people on that liveaboard are building that community.
Yeah.
But people coming to visit are only seeing a glimpse of that for that week.
Right.
You know, and so you guys you're getting to see the ins and outs of everything by doing different types of trips, but the back end of like building that community in a location, which is cool.
But and I love liveaboards, like, you know, and I've been the champion of like dive,
yeah,
right? Like
they're awesome.
Yeah, right. Like do
less work. I don't have to. Here we're like, and that's where here you can tailor. If you only want to do boat dives here, we've got you. You can do boat dives here all day, every day. If you want to do some shore diving right from your hotel, we can do that too. If you want to go up to some hiking spots, right, and then dive in that toilet bowl like we were talking about, you can piece together and choose your own adventure. So you can really tailor that to here, which you're not going to find on a liveaboard, right? Yeah. And there are some liveaboards that I think do liveaboard and then maybe like whatever island, land. So you can get that, but here you really can tailor a lot, which is unique.
Yeah. And as the person who's been like that guy, like I must do 30 dives on this trip, I can tell you that if all you do is come here and dive, you will miss a lot, you know, and frankly, a week is not even enough to even come close. I mean, so if I felt no need to do more than a couple dives a day, especially shore diving, and then enjoy Okinawa the rest of the time was perfect, you know. And if even longer, I might even space in some days of no diving, which is like horrible for me to say.
Yeah.
But it's like really out of character, but it's true. And I think that's what, this is the first place that has really made me like, oh, well, yeah, let's go see this.
A different perspective and viewpoint of diving. I didn't gain that till we moved here either, but it's because of the accessibility that we have here that provide so much that you might not get from one island with just liveaboards or just diving alone, where this is a whole culture and community that has diving is just a part of that. So
and if you're coming out this way already, and we don't think about we think about this all the time, if you're coming this direction already, you're going to a liveaboard in Indonesia, or you're going to a liveaboard in Thailand
or the Philippines, they're all very close to here too. It's not without reason, it's not outlandish to say, oh my gosh, well, we could add this to the list of things, or this could be a stop to do those things, because I also love just getting to go to islands within Japan, but Philippines are close by. It's not an expensive flight from here if you're already out here. The most expensive part is getting out to the Pacific, right? That you can tailor this to even bigger dive trips where, okay, you have a month, you have 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you only want to come to this island to dive for a day or two, then we can go to all of these and tailor that and build those relationships.
Right. And that's for me, that's one of the things that, because I mean, we share the planning, kind of the OCD planning piece, and I love like digging into the details of a trip and figuring out, you know, how to get all the logistics accomplished. But I have a lot of like, you know, anxiety about traveling in Asia. Just go, right? Like, you know, I think Indonesia can be tricky. I don't know. I haven't been yet. I'm looking forward to, you know, adding that to the list of places we get to go. But this is a 100% safer than being at home in the States layover spot for anywhere you want to go from here. You know, as like a home base on this side to like chill, get the jet lag out of your system and move on. Yeah. But I honestly probably would not leave to go to the next spot because I would just dive here and be happy. But I mean, I mean, the world is a big place, but this is so comfortable. Yeah. And I think, you know, the culture here is great, but just for the people that might be anxious about heading this direction, this is one of the largest United States military presences anywhere in this part of the world. That coupled with the Japanese culture, it just feels...
Yeah, it's this perfect blend, right? Because I don't ever want to take away from and I hope this hasn't, and I'm not Japanese, so I can't speak. That's where having Tom and doing an interview with him would be really cool too, to get his perspective. But just the blend, and that because of history, right, and because of peacetime, wartime, that you're able to have this beautiful blend of Japanese and American culture in one without it being this stigma and maybe years past. And I'm sure there's still some of that tension now. I personally don't feel it living here. I've never felt outcasted. There's a lot of tourism. This island thrives on tourism, like many small islands. But because of the military presence, right, it's made it more comfortable maybe for Americans to travel here, because you don't necessarily need to learn Japanese to get by, to get to grocery stores. Do I think that's extremely valuable? Yes. I think no matter what, you should always have an openness to the culture and the language and not be so entitled, right? Because we're here as guests on this island. And I want to learn from them as much as possible. Even though they want to learn English, I'm like, no, I want to learn Japanese. Like, that coming in with that sense of mentality and perspective, I think is so beneficial. But I think that's why it's such a great blend to be here, because it is easy for Americans to be here and travel and still get immersed in the culture without being thrown into a remote location in mainland Japan, or even on the island in a remote spot where you're relying on Google Translator, you're relying on either another translator for you, and you're kind of fumbling your way through that. Here, I mean, it's with such ease. You're going to find Americans, you're going to find Portuguese divers, you're going to find English divers, or from England, and like from all parts of the world are here to dive. And so Okinawa is just welcoming of everybody in that sense.
Yeah. And I think thank you, because I'm kind of struggling. You stated that perfectly in terms of how it feels, to somebody that knows most of the United States. It's so well integrated, right? The American culture is not overpowering in a sense that you're not getting the flavor of what it is to be here. But it's also not something you have to be overly worried about being completely thrown out into the middle of the ocean with no lifeline, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of ways to kind of move
you
around.
have a lot of resources and people that you can reach out to here that will be able to help you in any nationality, really, to come here and dive, not just American, because there are plenty of others. Here.
Well, and we've seen that on our boat diving. Right, there was a full international crew on that boat.
Yes,
and just a blend of dive shops who are the guides, and the boat captain oversees or offers to these different boat guides. And so now we're blending of different dive shops too, which is why it's so community based, right? Because we need each other we need the boat captains to service the boats out to different dive shops. The dive shops need the boats. And so it's this beautiful blend of networking and working together as a team versus, well, I'm on this boat or I'm on this, right? Where it's a collective, which is really cool.
Right. And it lets us do more of what we want to do, which is just go diving.
Dive and network with people and get to know other people, or who knows who you'll get to meet. Not everybody has that mentality, right? Some people are like, I just want to go dive and get in the water and then get out and go to my hotel or go see the things and not talk to anybody, which is fine. I mean, a lot of us dive and we're quiet under, right? As much as I try to talk underwater.
Well, you got a lot
squealing,
of
dance moves. Inherently, we're not talking a whole lot, and so those who do like to talk are doing it on the boat and networking with each other. But that's just personal preference, getting to pick and choose if that's what you want. You have the opportunity to broaden that here with those groups and the dive boats.
Yes, if you do get to dive with Katie and you hear a squeal underwater, she's found something good.
Yeah, you need to come. You need to come running.
Yeah, you need to come over. Though I get excited about the little stuff still. So it might not be.
No. Well, so yeah, we saw so many things. Maybe people that dive more in the Pacific, but we saw so many things that you guys are like, oh yeah, one of those.
Oh, I know.
And we're like, oh my god,
so bad. Like you hadn't seen clownfish or the sea snakes.
Yeah.
For us, that is through. You will see a sea snake every single dive here. It is rare that you don't. Honestly, I should start tracking how many dives I don't see one, because, and you saw last night,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were
everywhere.
Snake City.
Right.
But for me, Seth and I didn't even point those out initially,
No.
because we're like, oh yeah, we see these all the
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
like, I have to remember too, like, where people are coming from and asking those questions beforehand. Like, what have you seen? Like, what are you excited to see? Because for me, I get to see that all the day, and I've become slightly jaded, right?
Yeah.
And so just remembering, oh my gosh, and so I get excited sharing that, even though I've seen it over and over and over again. I get excited showing other people and watching them get excited, because that's, I mean, we're just here to have fun and dive, and getting to share that with somebody or knock off a bucket list item is really cool to watch.
Right. Well, we're that way, like, above the water here too. I mean, we've taken a lot of pictures of manhole covers here, you know, which is something no one would think about. But the manhole covers here, like, each one is different. They're cast in steel, and they have beautiful designs on them. And I mean, just little stuff like that here is I mean, it's picture worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you never in the States would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a picture of it, man.
Yeah. There's a mailbox.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's everything we wanted, plus a ton more.
But we saw a blue ring octopus.
Yes.
Last night.
Yes. I was so excited.
That's the ocean karma we think.
I know. I truly believe what you put in the world is what you'll get back. Outside of, like, of course, bad things are going to happen to people in life. That's just life. Bad things are going to happen. That's inevitable. Right? It's not a perfect world. But I do fully believe in, if you're respecting others, and have an awareness for the ocean and conservation, and just people in general, and just have a generally nice approach to life and positive, that hopefully the universe will bring that back to you in some way or another. And that's why I think, like, us connecting and meeting, I'm just like, and then with then parallels with, like, family stuff or just location, and just like, what? But just the world is so big yet so small. And I think it's just come full circle. So seeing the octopus, you know, as much good karma that you guys have provided, it's taken over 200 dives to see that. And you get to see it on your first trip here. So don't take that as, like, that's what you're going to see here too.
That's not guaranteed. But you better be good if you want to see the blue ring octopus.
It's
a scuba Santa.
Yeah, I was just about to say, are we on the naughty or nice list here?
Yeah. So be nice to the ocean, or you won't see it.
But I do really think that what you put in and getting to see that, it's taken over 200 dives for me to get to see that. So for you to get to see that, I always joke that you get the opportunity to see an octopus, a turtle, a cuttlefish. Here you're going to have more of an opportunity, and the longer you're here, even higher chance, but it can never be a guarantee. And I think some people forget that, like, I don't control the weather or the marine life or nature in general, and as much as I would love to. And I am underwater trying to, like, okay, octopus, come here, octopus. Like, I'm not actually doing anything, right? Maybe I'm just sending out good vibes. But as much as I would love to control that, it is always the opportunity. So the opportunity presented itself. And this was a pretty quick trip for you guys, planning-wise. So, and when you initially planned, the weather was looking amazing, and then we have 2 potential typhoons and one that is going to end up being a little bit closer, but now that's at the back end of your trip. I can't control that, though.
No.
And so, and that's anytime you're booking any type of travel. I'm always at the mercy of the ocean and nature, and as much as I'd love to control it, just going in with that awareness, why here is so beneficial, because there are other things outside of diving. Maybe it turns out to be really crappy weather. There's so much to do here. You could have a whole trip on the surface and not dive. If you're coming to dive, obviously you're wanting to dive, but there's just so much here that you can do outside of that to give that opportunity, where we're not sitting on a boat, we can't dive because the weather's not good. There's opportunity for other things. So coming in with an open mindset with that travel, I think, can be good too. Yeah,
I mean, you know, as with anything in life, your attitude and your viewpoint is going to dictate a lot of how it goes for you, right? And so, we've talked to, dive boat captains, and we've talked to, resort owners about all these things, and dive shops who run trips. And, your choice really comes down to take a chance or stay home. And none of us are willing to stay home. So if you're one of those people that's just not going to stand for sitting at home, then come take a chance with us. It can be amazing, and it's going to be good no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? But it can be absolutely life-changing.
Yes.
You know.
And that's a mindset that we can foster and build this community and bring and welcome those people who decide to watch or listen, right?
Yeah.
But we can't change people at the end of the day. But
No.
if you've already got that mindset, you're only setting yourself up for success and less disappointment, right? Under promise, over deliver kind of mentality. And I have to do that for myself too. Like, I can't expect to always something be at the level that I would maybe expect, or my preconceived expectations for others. But if I go in just being open, knowing that I'm going to have fun or learn something new, that could be anything, right? It might, and some people I think get these expectations and are only left disappointed and begruntled and, you know, comments and bad reviews, whatever. But it would be a good question to ask them, well, would you come in with the expectation? And so kind of that pre-screening for mindset and attitude, you know, can be beneficial too, and just kind of get someone in the space that they're gonna have fun and enjoy it, even if they don't get to do all the things that maybe they were expecting.
Right. I mean, I can say that if somebody comes in with the right attitude, then there's no reason why you can't be sitting in Okinawa with Katie and Seth, you know, diving, doing anything, and go home and have like memories for a lifetime of like, you know, one of the best vacations you had.
Yeah.
You know.
I hope that's always the case, right?
Yeah.
I always hope, and I think all instructors hope, that you're gaining knowledge and information. You've left me with more than when you came, right? I hope you've either left with more love or with more education or more training or maybe more perspective or maybe just being heard. But I always hope somebody leaves us with more than what they came with.
Yeah.
Well, I think Okinawa is definitely an authentic adventure. And, you know, we're definitely going to leave more with more, and especially dive footage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we saw some amazing things, but as we've said, with the diving and the numbers of dives and all the ways that we use to measure dive trips, that's really gone out the window for me on this one, right? I'm not measuring this in that way at all because, you know, as we've talked about, we know we're coming back. We knew before we even got in the water that we were coming back.
At the airport, when I picked them up, you were already so impressed with just the flow of the airport and infrastructure and architect that you're like, we're coming back. And I was like, I just picked you up at the airport.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that because that's also how I felt when I got here. But you already fell so much in love with this island just by stepping foot at the airport.
Yes, we did.
And that's been the story of a lot of people who come here.
Yeah, it really has.
A lot of vets back in the United States, a lot of veterans back in the United States have said to us directly, like, if I hadn't had a family or other obligations back in the United States, I would not have left.
Yeah.
You know.
And that is through and through, and even before coming here, just trying to figure out, you know, where, if we could choose where we wanted to go, like and through and through, this was one everyone said, hands down, we would go back. We know multiple families who've asked to come back here if they can and have come back, and it's just, once it's got its grip hold, once you're here and you can experience it, you'll understand what we're talking about. It's hard to kind of put that in words, but it's just, there's just so much here to offer.
Or like Seth, they came here and they stayed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dream, as we'll call it from here on out.
Yeah. And trying to stay, and there are people who try to stay here as long as they, and, you know, trying to find either contract jobs or different people who are like, no, I'm gonna stay. Like, whatever needs to happen to stay, they're trying to stay here. And we're kind of, I would love to stay here for as long as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, the hardest part of your vacation here is going to be going back to the airport. It will be. And I don't, you know, I know that we don't have a lot of track record on, like, they're like, he'll be saying that about the next place. We're like, no, he won't. I mean, we're looking.
He might, though.
Well, we're looking forward to our other adventures, right? I mean, we're looking forward to seeing different places, and the diving is always, but once you travel this way and once you feel this comfortable somewhere, and everything feels this natural, it's I mean, we could have sat here for a week, just rained nonstop. We could have sat here in a week and just talked about diving.
Yeah.
And gone and seen stuff on the island and blasphemy in the dive community, but I would have left happy. You know what I mean? And that brings me back to something we were talking about profession and the journey that we've both taken about having a profession versus a vocation, and having something that you're passionate about doing versus something that you do for money.
Mm-hmm.
And here this is a vacation in the sense of like a break, right? Like it's if you're in the United States and you're in like traffic right now, or you're working 2 hours past 5 o'clock at your job or something, the off switch here is more off than I would say other places.
Yeah. And honestly, more off in the sense that you might be rethinking
your life
in general. And I think a lot of people and more people are kind of having like these aha moments of like, what's the greater purpose? Or there are more travel groups. There are people who are making more of what they love doing, their job or their source of income, or to provide. And income can mean a lot of things, and success can mean a lot of things, but I think more and more people are just finding that to be more of their approach in life instead of that 9 to 5. And that's not, we still need all of those professions, right? And there are still people who value that so much. I've kind of always felt like I was the black sheep, or like against the grain of, and just felt like I was trying to fit into something that I really knew I never fit into. I know I like to be more creative. I like to be more spontaneous. And I think there's a lot of people who feel that way too, who are now thriving in the travel or in these little niche, which otherwise wouldn't be viewed as professions, and are absolutely making them very successful professions, which is amazing. It's just wild and hard to wrap our heads around when that's not the traditional way of viewing success or a profession or degree. I really, we could go into all of that, but just, I think people are finding the bigger meaning in life and purpose, which is beautiful, and what that looks like to be your authentic self, and what does your authentic life look like. I'm big on journaling, and trying to kind of write down the things that I want for my future, and I wrote over and over and over again in like a notebook, like, I want to live the most authentic life I can, loving others and doing things I'm passionate about. I have no idea what that was going to look like. I didn't even, the fact that we're just sitting here is blowing my mind. I'm having like an out-of-body experience right now. But like, building these websites that we've talked about, or building a business, like, this could become something so big. If it doesn't, I'm still going to do this. I'm still enjoying doing this, and we're all taking risk here and dipping our toes in something that like feels so far-fetched. And these are the people who are thriving and living happy lives. Not that they don't come with their own trials and tribulations and hard and the back end and all of that, but being able to live out your most authentic version of life. It's pretty cool and scary and all the things.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing that impressed us about you, and was the courage, right? It's just owning, like, this is a courageous move, right? This is not easy. This is not the default. The road less traveled is pretty easy, but I do think that you make it easier for others, right? Because you're inspiring that. And I think that's what we're all trying to find our people and to talk to the people.
And our inspiration.
Right.
Yeah, finding that in different ways through social media or YouTube or wherever. You're seeing more of that inspiration, and it's sparking people to question maybe where they're at or what they actually
their current
enjoy.
reality.
Yeah, like, do I want this to continue to be my reality in life, or do I want something more? Am I going to look back and regret this? Absolutely not. And that's what I've had to remind myself, because it's a constant reminder. Like, I'm still struggling to accept, right? This is a constant thing. And so, am I going to regret it? 100%. If I don't do this now while I have the beautiful opportunity to, who knows what I could have missed out on building, whether big or small. Like, I am at least trying. And if it turns into something more than that, awesome. If not, what a beautiful addition to the story that I have, or whatever plans move forward.
So, I mean, you don't know exactly how long you'll get to stay in Okinawa.
Right now, 3 to 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, so we're coming up to a year in February will be that first year mark for us. So
Awesome.
after that, who knows?
Yeah.
And who knows what this will look like. I mean, diving's gonna forever be a part of my life. I joked that this was like my pre-retirement job and I just get to dip into it early. But I'm more and more learning and just connecting with people that it could be more than just a pre-retirement, that this could be an actual thing that I start, and we could grow together and building trips for other spots with people that you already know you've dove with, who are already vetting and doing their research to go to new places, because I love traveling. That's a huge part of my life as well, and so that'll never stop. Diving and traveling will never stop. So to be able to blend that into something with other people who are dipping their toes into it and taking that risk, I mean, kudos to you guys too for we're in that same stage, so it's equal, credit to you guys for taking that leap and risk, because it comes with a lot of size.
There's a lot of there's self-doubt
imposter syndrome to the max, especially in something we got into this and I did zero background research on what's even being done, and then you start to do, and then you're like, I think I could do that, but I don't want to be naive to think I could do it better. And you just start into this cycle of, okay, well, I'm at the point I might as well try, because I'm in such an amazing spot to do it that I'll regret not. And so you guys are taking that leap, and then we're able to look through videos or pictures and take that leap and come here and try, and you'll get to do that in more places too.
Yes.
Which is really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of, I don't even know if we're still rolling, but I frankly don't even,
I don't
even care about it. But we met a captain of a liveaboard. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to, but he had a very frank conversation with us about his mentor as a boat captain, which is a very serious profession in its own right. I mean, you're responsible for the lives of people, and David in his capacity in the Air Force understands this. You're responsible for the lives and equipment. You're responsible for that all the time. And he had something really insightful to say to us about, you are steering your own ship and you're responsible for it.
Yeah.
And so you have to steer that ship where you want it to go. And if you don't do that, if you let other people steer the ship, you won't go where you want to go. Yeah. And so he was using this in the context of not losing your temper, right? He was saying that the captain would view allowing someone to bait him into losing his temper, he would view that as him losing control of his ship, right? He would a very stoic kind of mindset about it's me, I'm responsible for me, and I'm doing it. And I think for all the people that are, like we said, like thinking about a life change, or they come and they see a culture that allows them a different path in life, that it's important for them to remember, like, you are the captain of your ship. You are steering. And if you're not steering and someone else is, you can take that power back. Yeah. And you should, because no matter what happens in your life, if you were the one holding the wheel, then it was your life. Yeah. And the captain of this particular boat had a great grip on that. And I never thought about it in the context of steering a boat and being responsible, but it reminds me of everything you're saying. I would love to see you two in a conversation and just let you guys go.
That would be great.
Because I would just, then we could just roll the camera and watch.
Well, it's really coming to like how much power you're giving to other people. I can control myself, my attitude, my mindset. I cannot control yours. Yes. I cannot control XYZ. Like, I can only control what I do and my attitude and approach to that. I can let others influence mine. But now I'm just giving power to people. And that's where we've talked about some of that people pleasing and breaking out of that. I was giving a lot of power, all the power to other people. And to break that felt so wrong, because I really thought to be good and nice, like that. And that was a very warped perspective of it that I created myself. That's not the approach. I was giving a lot of power and spending a lot of time and energy, then getting drained myself, because I wasn't actually taking care of myself. I was just giving them the power and following anything that they would say or do in that sense, because I let them. They had power over
Yes.
me, and I didn't even know I was giving them power. And until I was able, through therapy, honestly, and kind of going and breaking down some of those misconceptions that I had created or perspectives I had created on my own, to break that down and realize, no, I don't need to give you that power. I value other people's insight and opinion for sure, in that respect, but you're not going to change my attitude or perspective on something unless I want to change or change or open my perspective to that, or to get heated, or to let someone get a rise out of me.
But
It's
turtle
hard.
can.
What?
A turtle can.
A
Right,
turtle
right.
absolutely
Well,
can. An octopus,
octopus.
a blue ring octopus
Right.
especially.
They can have all the power.
all the power. I mean, the power is only positive. I have yet to meet one of these and
A
not.
negative turtle.
Yeah, a negative turtle. Even if he bit me, I would be happy.
He's like, look, I got bit by a turtle. Yeah.
That's not the case. He was. I'm probably too much in his space, but no.
I do have a cute video of you helping the turtle.
Oh.
It got caught in some fishing.
Yeah. And I know I didn't realize this when I was looking through my footage, but I also have it on camera because I didn't see the fishing line until he was already in it. Yeah. And so you can see the fishing line in the video, and I'm looking back, yelling at myself, save the turtle, but I couldn't. The fishing line was so thin in that, and it was hazy. I couldn't see it, but I was so glad that I was right there, to be able to cut it out, because I mean, I can't even think about, what that would look like if we all hadn't been there. But yeah, no, turtles have my heart.
Yeah.
The ocean has my heart.
Yeah, you're in good company. So unfortunately, we talked way past our phone's battery life, but we will be seeing and hearing from Katie again soon. We enjoyed our trip to Okinawa so much, we're going back. Stay tuned and we'll get you the details about how to join us on our next trip to Okinawa to dive with Nautical Nomads.